Hi, Aja.
Hi.
I'd like to keep going on this notion of the egoic self. It's a question I've been looking at for the last 3 retreats, particularly the last one. And Laura did a great job of saying, bring it to a point, get it concentrated.
Yeah.
So my question has been to myself, what is the nature of the egoic self and how does it emerge? And where I've come to with that is that it's a composite, that it's made up of stories, that I can shift it by changing the stories.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times when that self has disappeared. There have been times when I have watched the self come back down like a curtain. Those were very instructive. What I don't understand is how/why this personal self, this egoic self, emerges. I do get that it's compelling.
Bingo.
Yeah, that it's compelling.
Yes.
I mean, if I have a set of stories, I mean, we all have our own sets or revolving sets. Each story deploys itself in time.
Yes.
Prescribing behaviors and attitudes and actions and so on. But that essential question of why and how, I don't
Well, you said
quite
it.
get that.
It's compelling. That's why. It's compelling. Until, of course, it's not.
Right.
At some point, it's no longer compelling. That you're using the word compelling, which I think is a wonderful description. It's the same thing I mean when I say what ties you to the dream state is your emotional bond to it, your emotional attachment to it. That's the compellingness. It's just plain old compelling.
You're in the groove.
Interesting.
Well, it is.
Yeah. Morbidly fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, all those things.
Right.
All those things.
Right. And it's at its inception, see, it's a very innocent thing. We're not talking about it arises because of some demonic, evil, nasty force in the universe, or somehow something's gone hideously wrong. It's the same as, you see a beautiful sunset and you're compelled to look at it. It's compelling.
Razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
The old razzmatazz.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Drama is compelling. Until all of a sudden it's not. And when all of a sudden it's not, it's very strange. Because the entire orientation of your entire life does an abrupt turn.
Can it also do a thinning?
Yes.
I mean, that seems to be more resonant with me.
Yes.
The thinning.
Yes. It tends to thin and thin and thin. And when it gets thin enough, then it turns.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's if there's a process to all this, that's the process part, is the compelling nature of even our own personal story. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. As someone said to me at a certain point, they go, Adya, I'm just a bore to myself now. Which wasn't like they were in resistance necessarily, it's just it was they themselves and what they thought and their whole, attaching meaning to everything they think and the whole dramatic story of their lives was starting to take on the quality of a big roaring bore. Like a movie of little entertainment value. At a certain point, you put the popcorn down and put the drink back in the holder and look for the exit door.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the process part. It just gets less and less and less compelling. Yeah? That's a good sign. When it's getting more and more and more compelling, which spirituality can also foster, you know.
Yes.
I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. I saw this and I saw that and I had this vision. It's like, it's even more compelling, you know, and that's okay. I mean, you know, we do that until we don't, but it's sort of like, well, okay, I'll see you later.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy. Yeah. And at a certain point, it's not only all the sort of the sticky, uncomfortable, yeah, nasty stuff is no longer compelling. It's even the good stuff, the good attachments, the attachments to the positive stuff. We start to see that as sort of, that's also uninteresting. It's not very compelling, actually, because all those sort of attachments to all sorts of what we think are good things, it also has a dark underbelly. It has a shadow side. As one very wise abbess at a monastery I stayed at for a while said, everybody knows not to be attached to hell, but very few people know not to be attached to heaven. And that's what she was talking about, you know. It's this attachment to heaven is actually where, I mean, in a manner of speaking, I may be stretching it a little bit, but I don't think so, is where the Bhagavad Gita begins. That's where it begins. When Arjuna is suddenly seen that he's being thrust into this battle, asked to go to battle by Krishna, the manifestation of God is encouraging him to follow out his destiny. And he suddenly sees that he's going to be slaying people he loves. Family members, relatives, kind people, good people, noble men, noble warriors. All of a sudden he sees his enemy is actually good and beautiful. And he has this heartfelt, loving attachment to them. And this is where the Gita opens with this scene. It's a very shocking and wonderful scene, and probably most of you heard me talk about it, so I won't do it too much. But this is the beginning. This isn't all that the Gita is about, but it's a big part of what the Gita is about. It's like this isn't just about letting go of the things you want to let go of. Everybody knows to let go of strife. Not many people know to let go of the other side. Right? Eros. The Greeks knew that. The Greeks knew that love had a light side and love had a dark side. And the dark side of love was sticky attachment. And as Arjuna is being faced with his sticky attachment, and Arjuna and Krishna is basically saying, kid, that's what you're going to war with. It's not about going to war and battles and armies and killing people. I mean, if that's what all was about, it would just be a meaningless, horrific war story. There's an underlying meaning, and that's where it all begins. It's saying that side too, all of it. You know? And that's what that Buddhist abbess meant when she said everybody knows to not be attached to hell, which isn't actually true. Most people don't know that at all. Very few people know not to be attached to heaven. That's very true. That's very, very true. Because we think if we go through that and let go of that and see the underbelly of heavenly attachments, that we'll be left with nothing but a cold, empty, detached sort of despair. That's the only thing the mind can project into that unknown landscape. All I can do is to suggest that that projection is just the mind doing what it does in the face of the unknown, which is projecting its fears into it, its darkness. I mean, it's not a dark thing at all. It's not a fearful thing at all. It's not an anti-love thing or caring thing. It's something far, far, far beyond that. But it can't be known until you find yourself there.